Okay. Today's health topic I want to talk about is 7 ways the body stores trauma and where it lives. So trauma is not what happens to you. It's what happens inside you. And it is not separate from your mental health. A lot of people think, well, abuse, trauma, that all impacts your mental health, right? We accept that it impacts our mental health, but we haven't quite acknowledged yet that trauma actually is stored in our tissues, in our bodies. So every time we have a traumatic incident, our nervous system is impacted by that traumatic incident. And when we're little, like 0 to 6 years old, that is when our nervous system is learning how to fire and wire. So everything that is traumatic that we deal with from 0 to 6 years old, that's creating the infrastructure for how we deal with stressful events. It's wiring our nervous system. And so trauma can be stored in our actual nervous system, and therefore it seeps into our muscle tissue, it seeps into our organs, it seeps into us at a cellular level. Okay? So in traditional Chinese medicine, trauma isn't just emotional, it's energetic. And when experiences overwhelm the body's ability to process emotion, that energy becomes stuck energy, or what they call in traditional Chinese medicine, qi, which is life force. It becomes stuck life force, and it no longer flows through the body freely, and the body holds the memory of pain until we release it. So healing begins when we recognize our emotions, live and learn to move with them. Okay? We got to learn how to move the energy through the body. And if you grew up in a traumatic, environment, and it doesn't even have to be like, we're not comparing trauma here. Like some people are horrifically abused as children, and I completely acknowledge that. But also, your experience is your reality. So we don't have to measure, oh, my trauma is worse than your trauma. Like, it's all relative. If the worst thing that you've ever experienced is like getting spanked, right? That's your level of trauma. Whereas somebody else may have very horrific trauma, even sexual abuse, right? But the point is, that still wires your nervous system. It's still your perception and your way of dealing with things. Okay? So it's not about, comparing trauma. You don't need to compare. So here's some cues. So your lungs are affected by grief and sadness. When we lose someone or something dear, the lungs often carry that sorrow. Unreleased grief can feel like tightness in the chest, shallow breathing, reoccurring respiratory issues, throat issues. And so when we're grieving, to counter and release that energy, deep breathing exercises, right? Releasing emotion, like crying. That's release. Crying's great for you. You need to release the energy. Okay? In nature, can help release lung-bound emotions too. So getting out in nature and connecting. Number 2, liver. So your liver is impacted by anger, frustration, resentment. Okay. The liver governs the smooth flow of qi. Suppression of anger or injustice causes stagnation, and it leads to headaches. It leads to PMS. It leads to pain and digestive tensions. So in order to release the liver, you have to support it, right? You have to support it with liver detox, right? Support it with gentle things like turmeric, dandelion root. Our liver DTX is a wonderful product for liver support. But you also have to move your body daily. So walking, stretching, even shaking out helps the liver release that stuck energy. acupuncture is a great thing too. If you can do the modality of acupuncture, it's great for that. The heart, of course, the heart is impacted by heartbreak. That's where that saying comes, right? Betrayal, emotional shock. So the heart houses Shen, which is spirit, and emotional trauma like betrayal or sudden loss can disturb the heart's rhythm and sleep. So in order to move the chi through the body with this, you need to speak truth. Say what you got to say. Say what you got to say. It is not good to suppress what you need to say. Practice forgiveness. Again, forgiveness is for you. It doesn't absolve anybody of anything. Forgiveness is for you. So you don't, cultivate a bitter heart. Surround yourself with people who create the space for you to be able to do those things. And you know what? Ask people. So if you're, in your family or whatever, if you've been suppressing a lot of things, make an announcement before you just can't, you get off the hook. It's like people have outbursts when they've been suppressing too long. So say, listen, I know I have been suppressing a lot of things. I'm going to have to come out and move this energy in some way. So, if I act different or if I, have to express myself in a different way, can you give me the space to do that? Because I need to get this out. I can't push it down anymore. So your spleen is where you carry worry and overthinking. The spleen is affected by mental rumination and chronic worry. It weakens digestion and leads to fatigue or feelings of heaviness. Ground yourself if you're feeling like this worry and overwhelming. You want to ground yourself with slow meals, lots of warm foods, and mindfulness, and nourish your body and calm your mind. Work to calm your mind. Your kidneys are affected by fear, insecurity, trauma from shock. The kidneys store our essence and are deeply impacted by fear or chronic stress. When fear is trapped, it shows up as lower back pain, adrenal fatigue, and anxiety. So deep breathing practice and into your lower abdomen. Bring the breath into your lower abdomen. You need more rest. You need to build strength through warmth, hydration, and sleep. Stomach is impacted by anxiety and lack of control. So when life feels unpredictable, the stomach tightens. Anxiety, digestive upset, nausea can all point to trauma that you have stored in your gut. So create predictable routines. Try to create things that you can have some control over. Eat slowly, right? Speak gratitude before your meals. Use contrast. Right? Use contrast, things could be worse, right? To express gratitude. When you use contrast, it triggers gratitude, and that can take you out of that worry, fearful state. Muscles and fascia. This is unprocessed stress and defense. So all that stiffness. The fascia is our connective tissue network. It holds the microtensions of every suppressed emotion. This is why as we get older, we think, we're getting older, we're getting less mobile. No, you aren't producing collagen anymore at the rate that you used to when you were younger. But on top of that, every single BS thing that has happened to you, that has rattled your nervous system, your fascia remembers all of that, and it holds it unless you work through that energy to release it. So trauma can manifest as stiffness, chronic pain, and unexplained tightness. Many people think they're dealing with an old injury, my old football injury or something. And yeah, maybe there's some scar tissue there or whatever. But likely there's some trauma involved as well. I mean, I can't think of how many times I've heard the story of I was really good in high school football or college football, and I really wanted to be a professional. I wanted to do this, but I got injured, and then everything derailed. My whole lifestyle changed. I lost friends. I lost that. People, that's traumatic. And so it's not just the injury, it's the traumatic component of it as well. Have you ever processed that? Have you ever wrote it all out? Have you ever expressed it to the point where you were able to release some energy, like really cry and sob about it? Because that's the energy release I'm talking about. And you may think, I'm not going to cry over that. I can't cry over that. Okay, then hold it in and stick with your sore back. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay. You're human. Energy builds. And trauma builds energy. If you don't let it out, you're going to suffer within your tissues. Like, have a good sob about it. It sucks that happened to you. You know, we take that information, we store it too long, it starts to manifest as real pain in the body. And it's aching to come out. So let it. In traditional Chinese medicine, healing isn't about forgetting, it's about transforming. You transform that energy and you integrate it. When you move your qi, you reclaim your vitality, your clarity, and your peace. Trauma stored becomes wisdom shared, and your body becomes light again. Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow. This has been Naturally Inspired Radio.